Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the Stock Market Outlook video brought to you by DFU. This is my daily driver for charting, screening, alerts, watchlist management, and a whole lot more. You can check it out using the link down below in the description. And as always, today we're going to dive into the market indexes, leading groups, as well as cover some key stocks that I'm watching. And this week was definitely an interesting one. Ended a little bit on a low note here with these past 2 days, and we'll get into all the price action today in this video. So stick around. If you do enjoy this, please go ahead and leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's go ahead and dive right in. So overall, first taking a look at the NASDAQ 100 ETF, the QQQ, we're still within this consolidation period. Here's the high, here's this low, and we were in the middle, or until today, we were in the middle of a short-term rally attempt. We retook the rising 21 EMA on this day. We broke through these highs earlier on in the session. Growth stocks were acting well, and that started, a short-term period where progress could be made. Then we were starting to form a range above the moving averages, and then this day we stalled. You can see we gapped up slightly, tried to push higher, failed, but we did close off lows. But then today we had a slight gap up and basically selling, continuing on into the end of the day. We did close above the 21 EMA, so this is still technically valid, but the action in the growth stocks leaves a lot to be desired. And we'll have to see whether we continue to fall through to the downside, break below the 21 EMA, or we start to form up a range here and continue to potentially approach these prior highs. But as of right now, for me, it's a little bit risk off in the very short term. We're back below a declining 50-day moving average. We're still above this 21 EMA, which is pretty key for me. So that is a slight positive, but we'll have to see what happens early on next week. Looking at the IWO, this gives kind of a different picture here of the market health. We're still well below all the different declining moving averages. We were rejected down from the declining 21 EMA here on this ETF. And you can see, very heavy distribution bars breaking all these lows on this past Thursday and fall through to the downside here on Friday, and the lowest prices in quite some time on this ETF. So, mega caps have been the stronger areas. But, even though there were opportunities, we want to see this ETF also at least participating to give a semblance of a stronger, overall market with more breadth, more opportunities, and just a more, risk on type environment, an easy dollar environment, if you will. So I'd love to see this firm up here, get back above that 21 EMA finally. But as of right now, we're in a short-term downtrend the past 3 days. And that's within the context of a longer-term downtrend here. Going back to the QQQ, this is a little bit different. We're definitely in a consolidation phase. We're not in that clear uptrend we are in here, but we were potentially starting some type of period like this, or at least, having an attempt to do that. So once again, we'll see how we basically close things out next week to see if we can form up a range here, maybe undercut and rally on that 21 EMA and restart this move upwards, or do we see continued fall through to the downside? We'll just have to wait and see what happens. Talking about group action this week, I've got my ETF list here in DeepView that I like to sort at the end of the week by both the weekly closing range, which is, if you bring up a weekly chart, where does the ETF or whatever it is close within the range from the week's lows to the week's highs. If it's near 100, it closed right near the high. Near 0, it closed right near the low. And you can see that, at the top here, sorting by this, it's all gold, miners, energy names, oil and gas, that type of thing. Those are the ones that closed quite well. Pretty much a negative for growth stocks. And down at the bottom here, you've got some of those growth stock minded ETFs, such as the, cloud software type names, genomics, all those different ones. So we'll have to see how things firm up, but this gives you a pretty clear picture of where the strength was, where was the money flowing this past week. And you can also do a 5-day performance sort as well, which gives you a very similar picture here, although Hack is still holding up pretty well. And, some of those names, CrowdStrike, Zscaler, still holding up. So we'll have to see what happens, but this is a great way to, track that group strength, the kind of top-down approach, which is very useful in addition to looking at the leading stocks themselves. Speaking of the leading stocks, let's take a look through their charts and run through a few notable names. I'll bring up my overall watch list from this past week. Let's first take a look at Tesla. There we go. We've got earnings coming up on this name. Overall, it was forming up the right-hand side of this base, but then kind of leaked below the progress it had been making on these past 3 days. We're still below, above the 50 SMA, but we've really got to firm up here, and this is a very key level just below, just above 250. So we'll have to see what happens. I don't want to see it lose this level too terribly, but we'll have to see how it reacts to this bout of selling. Bringing up NVIDIA, the semi names had been pretty strong. We had a nice rally off lows here, but today is a distribution day. Volume nicely isn't higher than this prior day, but comparing it to the past few days, it is a little bit higher. And you can see we undercut a lot of these lows here, and it looks like it's going to meet its 50 SMA and 21 EMA, and we'll see how it acts at that area. But overall, still in a consolidation phase, and we just have to wait to see it firm up or watch it continue to sell off here. PLTR, this has been a name that was very strong. You can see today it broke below this range that had been forming, and potentially it firms up here. It did hold up better than most, but we'll have to see where it can kind of pull back to and find some buyers. Likely it will meet its rising 21 EMA, this purple line here, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens. CrowdStrike, this is among one of the strongest stocks in the market right now. Great breakout through this high and nice fall through. And you can see how it held this prior day's low. That's definitely a sign of relative strength. And I'll be stalking this one very closely, but definitely a name that's showing a lot of strength. Also want to bring up a few other ones. We'll talk about Duolingo. This is a name I bought on this day. Sold a little bit into strength and then sold my last portion as it really undercut this range. Hit my raise stop today, and you can see it really continued to sell off after that and basically fail this breakout on a pickup in volume. So we're seeing this a little bit in some of the growth names. ACMR, one that had a nice breakout, pulled back as well. Wasn't able to hold near this pivot as I wanted to. Coursera, another one that pulled back hard. App, leaking below, downside reversal on this day. SMCI also pulling back pretty hard. So it's kind of a mixed bag here, and we'll just have to wait and see where things firm up and wait until they form clear pivots again. I'll bring up a few kind of more mega cap names. Let's bring up Amazon here. This one you can see rallied into its 50-day moving average, was rejected down from that. Pretty classic action. So this just looks like it needs more time. Let's bring up Google and bring up that chart here. You can see this is definitely stronger than Amazon, but again, the past few days you're seeing a pullback here. This is pulling back into this kind of prior base pivot type area, so potentially confirm up here, but definitely looks like it will consolidate near that 21 EMA area. We'll see if it tests it. Also bring up Microsoft. You can see that this is still in an overall consolidation, try to move off base lows, and we're seeing a short-term pullback and negative action today, and looks like it will test these moving averages. So we'll see if things can firm up right near those MAs and potentially restart the move higher. And if this is just a normal pullback, that's likely what things will do. But if we really break through that, selling picks up, that's a sign to really step back and wait for things to really clear up. But that's pretty much a run through of both the overall market, groups, as well as some key stocks I'm watching. My overall take is, risk off, at least in the very short term. We'll see how things form out and see if pivots get formed and ranges get formed next week. But I'll wait and see until that happens. So let me know your thoughts down below on the market. If you did enjoy this analysis, please go ahead and leave a like down below. I'd really appreciate it. And of course, subscribe if you haven't yet. And I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.